Hi, my name is Megan Feiner, and today we're going to be talking about understanding students with ADHD. Just a quick overview about what we're going to talk about is some statistics, as well as why there's an increased diagnosis in ADHD, as well as the signs of ADHD, severity levels with students, as well as how the IDEA approaches ADHD, as well as some intervention tips for you as a teacher. So let's get into it. So statistics-wise, in the year of 2016, they reported nearly 6.4 million students, that's around 9.4% of children, were diagnosed with ADHD, and that's yearly. The highest being in the 6 to 11 age range, and boys were most prominently diagnosed with a 12 to 5 ratio. As well as children between 5 to 10 typically have more behavioral and conduct problems. And the 3 to 10 age range, usually they have ADHD as well as anxiety. Nearly 62% of children worldwide are treated with medications. 47% are receiving behavioral therapy, and that's total around 77% are being treated for ADHD. The other 23% are not being treated or are not able to receive medication. So some treatments, as I talked about, were medication as well as behavioral treatments. Of course, there's many of other ideas such as paras, special educations, 504 plans, as well as IEPs, which your student can fall under. Demographics also play a big role in this. They say that more children in English-speaking households are at risk versus others. Nearly 9.8% of white children are diagnosed with ADHD, 9.5% is African American, and 5.5% are Latinos. That's not to say that other demographics and races are excluded, but these are the highest that they see as far as ADHD goes. Severity is range all over the place from mild, moderate to severe, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So as far as increased diagnosis goes, over the past year, there's been a significance between the 6 to 10% age range, or 6 to 10% range in the past 20 years. They believe the reasons for this are due to better healthcare, leading to more diagnoses, as well as increased medical technology to be able to diagnose students easier and be able to understand it a little bit better. Of course, there's some other outside factors such as parents, teachers, technology, lack of structure. These are just some simple signs that can cause ADHD. Signs of ADHD. As far as behavior goes, there are 3 main categories: inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Inattention would be a student's inability to cope within the classroom. They may be not focused on what the task is at hand, and that may cause them to not do as well. Hyperactivity may be squirming, fidgeting, not being able to sit still, which can be quite a problem for the students around them as well as themselves. Impulsivity would be more of an example of the student talking out in class, not waiting for their turn. This can cause a lot of problems for you as a teacher when you're trying to give a lecture, or just in general. Their inability to be quiet can be hard for other students to focus. Some presence in the classroom, we could see inability or inattention to focus on their work, which leads them to make small errors, not wanting to be a part of what is going on in the classroom, refusing to do it, maybe fidgeting, squirming, creating noises with their pencils and pens, talking excessively, interrupting their neighbors, information such as that. Now, a big question is, are all students the same? And as we talked about in the IDEA, not all students are the same, and they should never be treated the same. They all deserve their own individual approach. However, there's three really main severities, which is mild, moderate, and severe. Mild would be more of a minor impairment, like trouble staying focused, the talking over the teacher. Moderate would be unable to complete a task because of their inability to focus and attention span. Severe would be inability to focus, talk, interrupting other students, just not doing what they're supposed to be doing, which ends up becoming a problem both at home, in school, and in their work setting. Just a quick thing about lifespan. So ADHD can expand over a lifetime. It's not just to one age. Usually we see it in children. However, it can go all the way up into adulthood. Most often, children experience delays in maturity, expressing emotion, and they have a lot higher risk for being potential problems in the future. Teenagers, they more have a hard time with the life demands, academic demands that they're needing to meet, maybe feeling lonely, not feeling fit in with their peers, inability to be focused at school and be in the classroom. Adults, it may be daily responsibilities, working on their driving, depression, other mood disorders may be linked with this. Just overall having a hard time in the work and their outside life. The next topic we're going to talk about is IDEA. So the IDEA has been back and forth about how they wanted to approach ADHD. It's been talked about. So basically, they have been working on this policy that they don't believe that every student needs treatment within the classroom. Of course, you can get treatment outside of the classroom. It can start at home. So that's a big thing. And they think that it's based on severity. Therefore, the more severe your case is, the more likely you are to qualify for a 504 or an IEP. But usually they typically look for three things when they diagnose someone and give them an IEP. Would be having another health impairment, like needing a speech language pathologist, or having another learning disability. Also we talk about how they should have another specific learning disability, such as dyslexia, or other writing issues. Anything that really affects their educational performance. Another thing is them qualifying for the IEP. They have to qualify for that, and that would be taken into account by a meeting, which would be usually brought on by the teacher or someone around them who thinks that the student needs to be addressed by a medical professional. And the evaluation must be complete, of course, and they must follow under the DSM-5 and be categorized as having ADHD to apply for compensation. If you do think your child needs to be diagnosed and they get falsely diagnosed, there's of course an appeal process that you can go through to try and get your student help. Not necessarily is that going to be effective, but I know that sometimes people aren't diagnosed and then later on they end up receiving a diagnosis. So it's important to feel comfortable and receive the treatment you think you deserve. As far as interventions go, this is a really goal-based diagnosis and issue. Students are going to need help from both you or somebody else within the classroom. So it's good to have a team approach. Of course, not all students are going to be in the classroom 24/7, especially if they have an IEP. So they may go out and do extra classroom work. Another thing is just being consistent with your prevention and intervention, as well as monitoring progress via tests or other academic standards. Another thing is academics. You want to really focus on giving directions and making sure that they are list by list, and maybe having them take it slower or faster based upon how they feel that they're doing. And maybe having it written down and then asking them how they feel the assignment went at the end. Another thing is organization. Organization is a big part for students with ADHD. They tend to have a hard time keeping things together because usually it's very scattered. So helping them stay organized, maybe having color coding, having a homework partner, or having a paraprofessional be with them to keep on them about studying and keeping up on their responsibilities. Another thing is deconstructing tasks, taking them step by step, making them smaller so the student understands what they're trying to achieve and how they can get better. Lastly, just opportunities to respond, because most students, they have that impulsivity, so they feel the need to talk out. So giving them that chance to talk and maybe having some private time to speak with them would make it easier for the student to be able to address all their needs, as well as feel less obligated to speak out during class. Just some behavioral strategies is just providing reward. When they do the proper things, provide them with a sticker, or maybe give them an hour of free time at the end of the week, or they get an extra recess. Just reinforcing that behavior and making sure that it's sound for them and that they can understand it, and that everything that they're doing is being accounted for. So I hope that this better helped you understand ADHD and the reasons behind how students receive ADHD, how their diagnosis can go, some signs to look out for, as well as some intervention strategies. I hope you took away a lot from this and that you now know more about ADHD and you're able to help your students. Thank you.